Amma and Kofi gave Kwame a simple breakfast of warm porridge and water. Kofi chatted innocently as he ate, telling his father about the village, about their little life, how he helps Mama with chores, how he loves to play football with friends, how he's top of his class at the local school. Kwame listened with a smile, encouraging him, but his eyes would flicker to Amma, who remained mostly silent. She kept a polite distance, responding only when necessary, and didn't meet Kwame's gaze. Her guard was up, and it was clear to him that although she allowed this peaceful moment for Kofi's sake, she hadn't forgiven him. After breakfast, Kwame knew he could not impose any longer. He tried to stand, and though his body protested with pain, he managed. Amma handed him a walking stick, an old wooden cane she fetched from a corner, without a word, to help his injured ankle. "Thank you," he said softly. She only nodded. Kofi looked between them, sensing the unspoken tension. "Will we see you again, Papa?" Kofi asked innocently, holding his father's hand as they walked slowly outside. The bright morning sun revealed a lush green surrounding, tall palm and mango trees around the cluster of village huts, chickens roaming about pecking the ground, and a red dirt road leading back toward the city. Kwame looked down at his son's hopeful face and then up at Amma, who stood a few steps away, her arms wrapped around herself as if in protection. Kwame began, voice uncertain. He wanted to say, "Yes, of course, you will see me again." He wanted to promise he'd come back every day if allowed, but he was also afraid of making things harder for Kofi if Amma wouldn't accept him. Amma spoke up, her tone gentle but firm. "Kofi, your father needs time to recover and he has a life in the city." She looked at Kwame with an unreadable expression. "He will be very busy, I'm sure." Kwame heard the subtle message in her words. "Go back to your life and leave us be." He swallowed hard. Kneeling carefully, with difficulty due to his injuries, to be level with Kofi, he placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "I have to go now, but I promise I will thank you properly for saving me," he said, trying to keep his tone light for the child's sake. "You're a hero, you know that?" Kofi giggled a little and hugged him again, which Kwame returned warmly, savoring the feel of his son in his arms. Standing up again, Kwame faced Amma. He mustered the courage to speak from his heart, even if briefly. "Amma, I owe you my life. Thank you for helping me, even when you had every reason not to." Amma looked away, blinking back tears that threatened once more. "Anyone would help an injured stranger. It's what a good person does," she replied coolly, emphasizing stranger as if to deny their connection. Her words cut, but Kwame accepted them. He nodded. I'm sorry," he said again, quietly. He hoped she could hear the depth of his remorse in those simple words. She did not respond, keeping her eyes fixed on the ground. There was so much more he wanted to say, about how he missed her, how proud he was of her strength, how amazed he was by their son, how desperately he longed to fix what he'd broken. But he knew this wasn't the time. Leaning on the cane, Kwame started down the path, limping away from the little house that had given him shelter and a second chance to meet his family. Every step away felt wrong, but he had to respect Amma's wishes for now. Kofi walked a few steps with him, still talking. "Papa, will you be okay? How will you go to the city? We don't have a car." The boy looked concerned, realizing that his father's car was gone. Kwame managed a reassuring smile. "I have a phone at home to call someone. Once I reach the main road, I'll find help or a ride. Don't worry about me, okay? You just be a good boy and listen to your mama." He ruffled Kofi's hair gently. Kofi nodded, slowing to a stop where the village path met the main dirt road. He sensed this was as far as his mother would allow him to accompany Kwame. "Okay, bye-bye, Papa," he said softly, giving a little wave. "Goodbye, son," Kwame replied, the word son feeling both foreign and wonderful on his tongue. He turned to look back at Amma one last time. She had her arms wrapped around herself and tears glistening in her eyes, but she stayed near the house, not moving closer. Their eyes met across the distance. Kwame offered a faint, hopeful smile. and then he turned and continued on. Amma watched him go until his figure grew smaller. As he disappeared beyond the bend, she finally allowed her tears to fall freely. She cried for the hurt of the past, for the confusion of the present, and perhaps for the slim flicker of hope that tried to glow in her heart, a hope she wasn't ready to accept yet. Kofi walked back to his mother and took her hand. "Mama, are you okay?" he asked in his sweet voice. Amma knelt and hugged her son tightly. "I'll be fine, my love," she whispered. "I have you, that's what matters." Kwame did eventually find his way back to the city. Bruised and battered, he called a friend once he got signal and was picked up. His driver and security were horrified at what happened, and soon he was home in his luxurious mansion, a sprawling house in an upscale part of Accra, with high walls and ornate gates. As doctors tended his wounds and he rested in a king-sized bed, Kwame realized just how empty that mansion felt now. The fine marble floors and expensive furniture meant nothing to him. All he could think about was the small clay house in the village, the kind-hearted boy who saved him, and the woman whose forgiveness he desperately craved. Over the next few days, as he recovered, Kwame's resolve grew stronger. He knew what he had to do: make amends. He wanted to be part of his son's life and to right the wrong he did to Amma. Money couldn't fix the past, but perhaps it could help make their present better. More importantly, his sincere effort and presence might heal the pain he caused if given the chance. As soon as he was able to walk without too much pain, Kwame made the journey back to that village on the outskirts. This time he went with a car and driver, not to show off, but because he wanted to bring some things. On his first return visit, he carried several boxes of gifts: groceries, clothes, school supplies, toys for Kofi, and even some medicinal herbs and remedies he remembered Amma used to like. It was a gesture of thanks and care. The sun was high when his car pulled up on the dirt road near Amma's home. The villagers, unused to seeing fancy vehicles, looked on curiously. Some recognized Kwame. His face had been in the newspapers and on TV as a successful entrepreneur. Whispered murmurs started among them. But Kwame was not here to flaunt success. He stepped out of the car in a simple shirt and trousers, with humility in his posture. Amma was outside washing clothes in a basin when she heard the commotion. She turned and her heart jumped into her throat seeing Kwame's car, and then the man himself walking towards her with boxes in his arms. Kofi, who had been playing under a mango tree, dropped his ball and ran over excitedly. "Papa, you came back!" the boy exclaimed, eyes lighting up. He bounded over, happiness plain on his face. Kwame set down the boxes and scooped Kofi up into a warm hug, lifting him slightly off the ground. It amazed him how natural it felt to hold his son. "Of course I came back," he said softly. "I promised I would thank my hero properly, didn't I?" He gently put the boy down and ruffled his hair. Kofi's grin was from ear to ear when he saw the boxes of goodies. "Is that for us?" he asked. "Yes, some things for you and your mama," Kwame said, suddenly a bit nervous, turning toward Amma. She had stood up from her washing, a shirt still in her hands, dripping water. Her expression was wary and surprised. "Hello, Amma," Kwame said respectfully. "I hope you don't mind that I came. I wanted to see you and Kofi, and to bring some supplies as a thank you. I know you didn't ask for it, but please, it's the least I can do after what you did for me." Amma's eyes flicked to the boxes and then to Kofi's hopeful face. She saw items that would surely help them: staple foods, new clothes for the growing boy, which she herself struggled to afford, and more. Pride and practicality battled within her. She didn't want to accept charity from him, yet it would undeniably benefit their son. And he had phrased it as a thank you, which was a gentler way to frame it. Her voice was cool but polite as she said, "You shouldn't have gone through the trouble. We managed fine." But Kofi was already peeking into one of the boxes, exclaiming, "Mama, look! There's rice, and canned milk, and oh, biscuits!" His innocent excitement made Amma's heart soften despite herself. She gave a small sigh. "Well, thank you, Kwame. We'll put these to use." Kwame nodded, trying to hide his relief at not being outright rejected this time. "May I stay a while?" he asked tentatively. "I can help with anything you need, or I can just sit with Kofi." He didn't want to impose further, but his eyes begged for some more time near them. Amma pursed her lips, considering. She remembered telling him to leave and perhaps never return, but here he was, and a part of her had known he might come back. She saw the hope in Kofi's eyes too. The boy clearly wanted his father around. "Suit yourself," she replied with a shrug, trying to appear indifferent. "I have chores to finish." With that, she went back to washing clothes, leaving the door open for whatever would happen next, but not explicitly welcoming him either. Over the next hour, Kwame stayed. He didn't stand idle. He rolled up his sleeves and helped. Kofi happily showed his father how to hang the washed clothes on the line to dry. Kwame, a man who hadn't done such domestic chores in years, he had house staff in his mansion, fumbled a bit at first, but he laughed with Kofi as a wet bedsheet nearly slapped him in the face while hanging it. The boy's laughter was infectious and pure. Amma watched from the corner of her eye, trying to conceal a smile at the sight of this wealthy man awkwardly doing laundry. It was oddly endearing, and a bit satisfying, to see him put in effort in her world. When the chores were done, Kwame sat with Kofi under the shade of the mango tree. The boy excitedly opened one of the boxes that contained a football, soccer ball, and some storybooks. Soon, father and son were kicking the ball around on the small patch of yard. Kwame limped slightly, his ankle still healing, but he didn't let that stop him from playing. Kofi's giggles and shouts filled the air as he tried to dribble past his much taller father. Amma occasionally glanced over while she cooked a simple soup for lunch. It was hard for her to admit, but the sight of them together tugged at her heart. Kofi had never had a father figure, and seeing him so happy made her both joyful for her child and fearful for herself. Joyful because her son was experiencing something precious, and fearful because she worried this wouldn't last. What if Kwame got bored or decided it was too hard and left again? She couldn't bear to see Kofi hurt if his father disappeared a second time. When lunch was ready, she called them in. They ate together in the tiny home. It was the first time they sat as a family, albeit an awkward one. Kofi chattered on about school and friends, and Kwame listened eagerly, asking questions, genuinely interested. Amma remained mostly quiet, observing. She noticed how gentle Kwame was with the boy, how patient and careful to not say anything upsetting. This wasn't the same young man she once knew, or at least, he had grown from that scared boy he used to be. After lunch, Kwame took his leave, sensing Amma's limits, but he promised to return in a few days. "I have some business to handle, but I'll be back very soon," he told Kofi, and he looked to Amma. "If that's okay." Amma simply nodded, not committing to any feeling. As his car drove off, Kofi was already counting days on his fingers, excited for his father's next visit. Amma's emotions were more complicated. She felt a stirring of something, not quite anger now, perhaps the beginning of forgiveness or hope, but she quickly buried it. "We'll see if he keeps his word," she thought. True to his word, Kwame returned again and again. Every few days his car would pull up in the village, and he would come bearing something helpful, a bag of fresh bread from the city bakery, or new shoes for Kofi when he noticed the boy's old ones were worn through, or a book for Amma knowing she liked to read when she had the time. Each time Amma was polite but guarded. She allowed him to visit and interact with Kofi, and even to help around with tasks, but she maintained an emotional distance. The villagers watched this unfolding story with great interest. Gossip spread quickly about how Amma's son's father was a rich man now, and how he courted her forgiveness with gifts and presents. Some neighbors even gently advised Amma, saying she was lucky he came back, and that she should accept him for the child's sake. But Amma was not one to be swayed by gossip. She listened quietly, but made her own judgments. For Kofi, these days were like a dream. He finally got to know his father. In their little house, laughter became more frequent. Kwame taught Kofi how to solve math problems faster, and told him stories about places he had traveled for business. In turn, Kofi showed his father how to trap crabs by the stream and climb the low guava tree out back. Kwame tried and got stuck, which made all three of them unexpectedly burst into laughter together. Those moments where Amma laughed along were when her guard was momentarily down, and Kwame cherished them. With each visit, Amma's wall of anger chipped away a little more, though she tried hard to keep it up. She saw how earnest Kwame was. He never left without tidying up or doing something kind. He never raised his voice. Not once did he get frustrated when she gave him the cold shoulder or a biting comment. He accepted her terms patiently. This patience and humility were new to her image of him. In the evenings after Kwame left, Amma often sat alone thinking while Kofi slept. She thought about the man she once loved and how he seemed to be trying so hard to correct his wrongs. She recalled how he used to be, quick to fear and doubt, and how now he appeared steady and responsible. She couldn't deny that people can change. Hadn't she herself grown stronger and wiser with time? Yet, forgiving was another matter. Deep down, perhaps she had already begun to forgive him bit by bit, seeing his genuine remorse, but trusting him fully with her heart was scary. One afternoon, a few weeks after the fateful night, Kofi came home from school with a drawing he had made in class. Excitedly, he showed it to his mother. The drawing was simple, done in crayons. It depicted 3 people holding hands, a man, a woman, and a child, standing in front of a house with a big sun overhead. Underneath, in his neat, childlike handwriting, Kofi had written, "My family." Amma looked at the picture and felt her throat tighten. The simplicity and innocence of the drawing brought tears to her eyes. In the picture, the 3 figures were smiling. Kofi pointed to each figure. "This is you, Mama. This is me. And this is Papa." He looked up at her with wide, earnest eyes. "I drew us together because that's what I wish, Mama. I know Papa doesn't live with us, but maybe someday." He trailed off, seeing his mother's emotional face. Amma knelt down and hugged her son, holding him close. She couldn't speak for a moment. Finally, she whispered, "It's a beautiful drawing, Kofi. I'm very happy you have gotten to know your father. Whatever happens, you always have me, and you have him now too." Children can sense more than adults realize. Kofi understood that his mother was still sad sometimes. He wanted to fix it in the way a child thinks they can fix everything. "Mama," he said softly, "Papa is really sorry. I can tell. He's always trying to make you smile. I like when you smile with him. I want us to be happy like in the picture." Amma stroked her son's hair. "I know, my love. I know you want that." She didn't promise him anything at that moment, but the drawing stayed with her, tucked in her heart like a seed of possibility. The next time Kwame visited, Kofi proudly showed him the drawing too. Kwame was incredibly moved. He carefully held the drawing in his hands as if it were something precious and fragile. "This is us?" he asked gently, and Kofi nodded enthusiastically. "It's wonderful. I'll keep it forever," he said, voice thick with emotion. He indeed kept it. Later he would put it in his wallet so that he always carried that hope with him. That day, after playing with Kofi, Kwame approached Amma as she sorted vegetables for dinner. Summoning courage, he spoke. "Amma, may I talk to you?" She looked at him warily, but nodded, stepping aside where Kofi wouldn't overhear. Kwame took a deep breath. "I wanted to say how grateful I am that you've let me be around these past weeks. I know I hurt you deeply, and I don't expect you to forgive me easily. But I want you to know I am not here out of pity or guilt alone. I'm here because He faltered slightly, then continued. "Because I care. I realize now that leaving you was the worst mistake of my life. You were right to raise Kofi. He's an amazing boy, and that's thanks to you." Amma felt her eyes burn as he spoke, but she kept her composure. Kwame continued, "I want to be here for him, and for you, as long as you'll allow. I know I can't change the past, but if you let me, I want to build a future, even if it's just me being a good father to Kofi. He deserves that. And you deserve everything good after all the hardship you went through." Amma had no immediate response. She simply nodded and said, "We'll see, Kwame. Actions speak louder than words. So far, you are doing the right things. But I need more time." Her voice was softer than before, less cold, but still guarded. Kwame accepted this with a gentle smile. "Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere this time," he said. And he meant it. As months passed, a new sort of normal developed. Kwame visited the village regularly. Sometimes he brought Amma and Kofi into the city. He insisted they see a proper doctor for checkups, something Amma had rarely afforded for herself. He would drive them to a nice clinic, treating them with care and respect. He also took them to see his home. Initially, Amma resisted, but Kofi was eager, so she relented. Kwame's mansion amazed Kofi, but what struck Amma was not the luxury but how lonely it felt. No family laughter echoed in those halls, until her son ran through them. During one visit in the city, Kwame introduced Kofi to ice cream for the first time, and the boy squealed with delight at the cold treat. Amma had to hide a laugh at the smear of vanilla on Kofi's nose. Kwame gently wiped it off, his eyes crinkling with happiness at these small moments. It felt almost like they were a family, doing normal things together. The more time passed, the more Amma saw that Kwame truly had changed. He was no longer the fearful young man who pushed her away. He was responsible, kind, and persistent in the best way. He never once raised his voice or lost patience, even when Amma was occasionally sharp out of habit. Instead, he helped her with whatever he could, repairing the broken hinge on her door one day, paying for the village's well to be cleaned and serviced knowing the whole community needed it, and even discreetly giving a job at one of his companies to a struggling neighbor of hers. He did these things quietly, never seeking praise, often not even telling Amma directly, as villagers would inform her later with gratitude. He seemed determined to not only care for his newfound family, but also to uplift the people around them. Amma found her resentment melting away bit by bit. It became harder to remember why she should stay angry when confronted daily with this new reality of who Kwame was. She still had not spoken the words of forgiveness, but her actions showed some softening. She began to send Kofi to greet him with a warm meal for the road whenever he left. She allowed him to sit on their porch with her in the evenings, talking about trivial things. Once they even reminisced about their school days and laughed together gently, surprising them both. One evening, nearly a year after the night of the robbery, they all found themselves walking together to the village church. It was a special community gathering, and Kwame had been invited by the villagers. He walked on one side of Kofi while Amma on the other, like any ordinary family. The stars were bright above as they walked, and Kofi held both his parents' hands, swinging them happily. At one point, the boy let go and ran ahead to join a friend, leaving Kwame and Amma strolling side by side. They walked in a comfortable silence for a moment. Then Kwame cleared his throat. "Amma," he said softly. "Yes," she replied, glancing at him. He stopped walking, gently taking her hand. She turned to face him, the starlight revealing the earnest emotion on his face. "I need to tell you again. I am sorry. Truly. For everything. I know I don't deserve it, but do you think you could ever forgive me?" His voice was gentle and pleading, and he squeezed her hand lightly, as if afraid she might pull away. Amma looked at him, and to her surprise, she didn't feel the sharp pain she used to when thinking of the past. Instead, she felt the warmth of his hand and saw the genuine love in his eyes, for her, she realized, and for their son. She thought of how much Kofi wanted this, how much perhaps she wanted it too, but was afraid to admit it. Tears pooled in her eyes, but these were different tears, not just of sorrow, but of release. "I have been angry for so long, Kwame," she began quietly. "Angry and hurt. I thought I could never forgive you. But watching you this past year, seeing how much you've done, how hard you've tried, and how much you care for Kofi, and for me." Her voice broke slightly. "You have given me reasons to believe people can change. You've shown me the man you've become, and he is someone I can respect. Maybe even She stopped herself, blushing and looking down. Kwame's heart leapt into his throat. He gently lifted her chin with his other hand, so she would meet his gaze. She didn't pull away. "Amma, I love you," he said, finally voicing what had been growing in him all this time. "I never stopped loving you, Even when I was young and foolish, it was fear, not a lack of love, that drove me. And now, I love you even more, seeing the incredible woman and mother you are. I know I don't deserve a second chance, but if you're willing to give it to me, I promise I will dedicate every day to making you and Kofi happy." A tear rolled down Amma's cheek, but she smiled, a real heartfelt smile. "You already have made us happy," she replied softly. "Kofi is happier than ever. And I am too. I forgive you, Kwame." Saying those words lifted a huge weight from her soul. She realized she truly meant it. The hurt from 10 years ago finally released its hold on her heart, making room for healing and love. Overwhelmed with gratitude and joy, Kwame gently drew Amma into his arms. She let him, resting her head against his chest. It felt right, after so many years of pain, to finally find peace in each other. Under the quiet Ghanaian night sky, they held each other for a long moment. Their hearts, once broken, were mending together. Ahead of them, Kofi noticed his parents had fallen behind. He turned and saw them embracing, a big smile spread on his face. "Come on, slowpokes," he yelled playfully, running back to them. Kwame and Amma laughed, wiping their eyes. They each opened an arm, and Kofi jumped into the middle of a warm family hug. "Does this mean—" Kofi looked between them with hopeful eyes. "Yes, my son," Kwame said, kissing the top of Kofi's head. "It means Mama forgave me. We are truly a family now." Amma nodded, caressing Kofi's cheek. "We'll always be together, my love," she affirmed. Kofi whooped with happiness and hugged them tighter. In that moment, standing on the starlit path, they felt like the only people in the world. A family reunited by fate, healed by forgiveness. Not long after that night, Kwame asked Amma the important question, this time on one knee, in front of Kofi, and the entire village gathered as witnesses on a bright Sunday afternoon. He held out a simple but elegant ring. "Amma," he said, voice clear and full of emotion, "you have always been the love of my life. Will you marry me and make our family whole?" Amma, tears of joy streaming, nodded before she could even get the words out. "Yes, yes, I will," she managed to say, laughter and sobs mingling as she pulled him up into an embrace. The villagers cheered and clapped. Kofi jumped up and down excitedly, then hugged both his parents tightly. It was a day of pure happiness. They married in a small church ceremony soon after. Amma wore a beautiful ivory dress that Kwame had specially made, not overly extravagant, but just right, with lace that made her look like the angel he believed her to be. Kwame stood tall in a smart suit, tears in his eyes as he watched Amma walk down the aisle with Kofi holding her hand, effectively giving his mother away to his father. Under the blooming frangipani trees by the church, they exchanged vows they had once thought impossible. Amma's voice shook as she promised to love him, and Kwame's voice was firm as he vowed never to leave or hurt his family again. After the wedding, life truly began anew for them. They moved into a comfortable home that Kwame bought near the village. Amma preferred to remain close to her community rather than move straight to the city mansion, and Kwame understood. He arranged to split time between the city, for work, and the village home so that Amma could still be near her friends and familiar surroundings. Eventually, they blended their lives, sometimes staying at the mansion for weekends, which Kofi loved as it was like a vacation, and spending weekdays in the quieter outskirts where Amma felt at peace. Every day, Kwame showed his gratitude and love. When he went to the city for meetings, he would rush back by evening to have dinner with his wife and son. Often he came bearing little surprises, Kofi's favorite sweets, or a new book for Amma. And every night, he tucked Kofi in, telling him a bedtime story to make up for all the ones he had missed. Amma would watch from the doorway, heart swelling with love at the sight. It wasn't a fairy tale where absolutely everything was perfect. They had their disagreements occasionally, as any family does. But even when Amma would get upset or Kwame would worry about something, they talked it through now. They had learned the hard way the cost of not communicating. There was an unspoken agreement never to let fear drive them apart again. One evening, a couple of years later, The family sat outside their home watching a brilliant sunset paint the sky in gold and purple. Kofi, now 12, was doing his homework at the porch table, and Amma sat with little Nadia on her lap, a baby girl born to them a year after the marriage, a symbol of their second chance. Kwame was nearby, gently rocking the baby's tiny feet in his hand and making faces that made her giggle. As the first stars appeared, Amma looked around at her life, her son concentrating hard on his studies, her daughter babbling happily, and her husband by her side humming a tune as he entertained the baby. She reached out and held Kwame's hand, giving it a loving squeeze. He looked at her and smiled, a smile full of contentment. No words were needed. Their eyes spoke volumes of how grateful they were for this journey. From a lonely path on a dark night to this warm, light-filled home, they had come so far. Amma rested her head on Kwame's shoulder, and he kissed her forehead gently. They had forgiven, they had healed, and now they thrived, together. In the end, the billionaire who once feared poverty learned that wealth meant nothing without family. And the woman who once felt betrayed found that love could be stronger the second time around. Thanks to a brave little boy's kind heart, a broken family was made whole again. They lived the rest of their days supporting and loving each other, proving that no matter how painful the past, the future is always open for love, forgiveness, and new beginnings, turning a lonely path into a road that they would walk together, hand in hand, forever. Moral lesson: forgiveness may be difficult, but it has the power to heal old wounds and bring families back together. Thank you for listening to Tales by Kwame. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful tales. Until next time, keep the stories alive.